Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another speed build video in The Sims 4. I hope you're all having the most amazing day ever so far, and thank you so much for joining me here today. I'm really excited for this one actually, but we are building in Copperdale on this 20 by 15 lot. It feels like it's been a little bit of time since I've built on this lot, but I am creating a home for a single dad and his 4 kids. I love how this turned out. It was a little bit of a process. I'm going to put a disclaimer out there right now, which is something I feel that I'm saying quite a lot in my voiceovers at the moment. I feel like I'm saying, disclaimer, this is happening, or disclaimer, I did this, but the colour schemes for the exterior of this build change a fair few times before I actually land on a colour scheme that I am happy with, I am comfortable with, and I decided to include the entire process just because I watch speed builds on YouTube sometimes, and some of my favorite creators that I watch, I really like seeing them go through a process, right? Because it would be so easy for me to sit here and edit out all of the bits where I decide to make a different decision or change something or whatever, and then for you as the viewer, me personally, I'd be sat there thinking, hang on a minute, do you just land on your first option and decision and then like you click your fingers and that's it? Or is there a process involved? And for me, there's always a process, especially because I like to pick at stuff and I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, not a little bit, I'm a perfectionist at heart, and I go through a process, and I know that so many people do the same thing. And so I wanted to just take you on this entire journey. I have not cut any footage out of this video. Everything that you are seeing is the entire process of this build. Oh no, I've just lied to you. I'm so sorry, I've just lied to you. I'm not off to a very good start, am I? Okay, let me explain. So some of the landscaping, we'll talk a little bit more about it when we actually get onto the landscaping properly, but the landscaping changes because I was looking at this and I'm looking at the background, and you can see there's some pine trees and it seems very sort of rustic and foresty. And when I laid my initial landscaping down, for me it just didn't seem to fit in with the vibe, so I did end up changing a couple of the trees. I swapped them out for some of the debug trees from Werewolves, which are the more like pine trees, and they're trees that I always forget exist, but then when I find them again, I remember how beautiful they are, and I just think I need to use these so much more in my build. So I did end up changing the landscaping out just a smidge, just a little bit. I swapped like 2 or 3, maybe 4 of the trees out for ones from Werewolves. So sorry for lying, because that is a big fat lie that I just told. I just wanted to make that disclaimer again. Disclaimer, because I know there's going to be people sitting there thinking, hold on a minute, like the thumbnail and then the footage doesn't quite marry up there, Rach, and you'd be absolutely right. So just wanted to make that statement. So yeah, this tree comes out entirely. I end up swapping out for a tree from Werewolves. It just seemed to fit in better. The entire color scheme changes, by the way. The house ends up, yeah, the shape is there, but the whole vibe and the color scheme is completely different. So for me, it made so much of a difference, and it just, at the moment, like, it's a nice house. There's nothing wrong with this. It's just that because I had in my head when I was creating this house that I wanted to create a home for a single dad and his kids. It ends up being 4 kids, by the way. So this dad has, you know, he loves his kids so much. He loves his life, but God bless him, he definitely has it rough, you know. Being a single dad anyway must be so hard, but being a single dad to 4 kids, like, yeah, my heart really does go out. So because that was the vibe I was going for, this wasn't really saying what I wanted it to say, and that's the best way that I can describe it, because I'm not very good at describing things whatsoever. So yeah, it just, like I said, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that it wasn't really giving the vibe, you know, that I wanted it to give. So, but anyway, as I said, that entire process does stay in. I'm sorry if like the moving sort of camera gives people motion sickness, but I do move it a fair few times when I'm changing the colour scheme in the next couple of minutes before we move on to the interior. So just a forewarning, if it makes you a little bit motion sick, then I apologise, because I'm kind of going from the back of the build to the front of the build, dropping down, coming back, making sure that it's looking how I wanted it to. But yeah, anyway, so I love the fact that I put this pickup truck out front. There's a couple of kids' bikes out front. There's a football, there's a basketball hoop. I ended up putting a couple of chairs underneath the tree on the left, which also changes out to a big tall pine tree from Werewolves. So these little chairs, they came with the little campers kit, and I love these chairs so much. If I have an opportunity to use these chairs, I will 100% use them, because I love them so much. Here we are. So this is just me experimenting with different color schemes and different swatches of wallpapers, sidings, roof colors, chimneys, you name it, and I sort of mess around with it a little bit. I end up changing the windows out. So you see the bay window just on the right hand side there that's kind of covered by the roof. I end up using windows from the Greenhouse Haven kit, which I don't think I've used in a house for what feels like quite some time, so it was really refreshing for me to use them. But I ended up trying quite a few different window styles, because I kind of wanted the house to have this sort of modern feel whilst also retaining the kind of suburban theme and sort of vibe. So it was kind of hard to get that right balance. It was definitely a challenge, as well as landing on a colour scheme that I was comfortable with, that I was happy with. But we ended up getting there in the end, and I think that's kind of the point. You know, it can often take me a little bit of time to get to my end goal, my end destination, but I do get there no matter how many times I struggle, how many times I want to just close the game and come back to a build. I really do try. And also a fun fact, I feel like I've been saying this a lot as well. This is actually, I think yesterday, so I actually built this house yesterday. So today is Saturday. I built this house yesterday, with it being Friday. And I think this is my, let me think, third, maybe fourth attempt at a house just in general. And then I was struggling, so I went to my build list on my phone, and I was like, oh well, I've quite recently done a single mum home, so I thought, why not do a single dad home as well with a completely different vibe? And then I ended up landing on this colour scheme, which I just think works so much better than the previous ones that I was trying. It fits in a lot more with Copperdale just as a whole. It's not too like flash, it's not too bright or too colourful, too in your face. It just kind of fits in with the vibe there. And that was me just removing the bed that my test sim was sleeping in whilst I was trying to work out. I always forget in Copperdale, the lighting, it has quite a green tint to it, and then when you apply the heat wave, I use MC Command Center to change the weather and stuff like that. When you apply the heat wave using an MC Command Center, it takes away the green tint, but it also kind of goes the opposite way and makes things a little bit too warm for me. I'm super picky with lighting on lots. I don't know if you can tell. I don't know if anyone else is like me, but I'm so picky with lighting on lots. It's almost bordering on being a little bit of an obsession at this point. I don't know if anybody else is the same, but yeah, I don't know. So basically that was me and my test sim. I made him sleep inside, and then while I was trying to work out what time of day was best, because sometimes, yeah, you can flick between morning, afternoon and nighttime, but sometimes there's like in between times that are actually better for lighting. So for example, I think the lighting I ended up going for, the time was like 3 p.m, 3:30 p.m. That seemed to be the sweet spot for me, and kind of in between a heat wave and it being partly cloudy and hot. If you have MC Command Center, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Anyway, I digress. So we have moved on to the interior. This is where we figure out the floor plan, and I've started figuring out the floor plan for the entire house. if you watch some of my older speed builds, I used to just plan out the bottom floor and then I'd go up to the top floor and then I'd be like, oh, I can only fit in 1 bedroom and 1 bathroom up here. But I might have added so many kids items downstairs, so it just doesn't really work. So I have started floor planning all floors, the house in its entirety, before I do anything else, because then I can kind of work out the family dynamic. So what I ended up doing with this house, and I can't believe I haven't explained this yet. So the house has an integral garage. I don't know if you noticed that, you perhaps did. I use the garage door from Snowy Escape, which seems to be my favourite at the moment. So yeah, I use that, and I actually gave Dad the converted garage space for his bedroom, which I thought worked beautifully for this particular house, this setup, this family dynamic that I had in my mind whilst I was creating this. I knew that he was going to be a single dad. I knew that his children were going to be relatively young in age. I knew that I didn't want to add any teenagers to this house, although I did toy around with that idea briefly, but it just never really came to fruition when I actually sat down and thought about it. So there's a dad, there is an infant who is imminently going to be a toddler, which is why I have infant items and toddler items in and outside of the build, i.e. in the back garden. And then there are twin girls, who are quite young. I think they're children for sure, but they might be turning teenagers relatively soon. And then he has a son who's also a child, but I also feel like he's probably just aged up from a toddler. So just depending on the family dynamic, you might just have to remove some items, add some items, just depending on obviously what sort of family you're actually playing with. But yeah, that was the sort of family dynamic that I had in mind. So it is a single dad and his 4 kids. So yeah, that was my entire sort of thought process while I was going through this build, was single dad, 4 kids. I didn't really give too much thought as to what the dad might do for a job, what he might do for a living, but I don't think he's got tons of money, and I don't think he doesn't have any money. I think he's sat in that really sweet spot where he probably doesn't really think about money. Money isn't an issue for him or his kids. He has a nice house, it's nicely decorated, his kids never go without, so he's maybe in finance or something, or maybe he's an author, although if he was an author then he would definitely need either a laptop or a home office. But what happened was that I didn't really give too much thought either as to why the other parent, mum, isn't around. I didn't give too much thought to it. Just as when I did my single mum home, I didn't give too much thought to it. I didn't think it was morbid or anything like that, but it's a single dad and his kids, and sometimes I know that's quite a fun dynamic to play with in The Sims. So I just wanted to create this house for that, if that makes sense. So yeah, what you'll notice with this house is there's plenty of kids clutter. I really wanted to tell this story throughout the house that he's a single dad, he has a job. I think he probably has help from his parents, so the kids' grandparents. I feel like they probably come round and babysit until dad gets home from work. Perhaps dad just works part-time, or perhaps dad sometimes goes into the office some days. Perhaps he works from home other days so that he can pick up the kids from school, or he can be at home when the kids get home from school. And he definitely doesn't do this alone. But this dad is like super dad. He wants to make sure that his kids never go without, and he wants them to have everything. It's almost like an overcompensation thing, because obviously mum isn't around anymore, and I think the eldest children, so the 2 daughters and the son, are potentially maybe starting to ask questions, where's mum? And he's possibly overcompensating. So I wanted to kind of get that across within the build as well. So a lot of the items that I decided to use, these are color schemes that I wouldn't necessarily gravitate towards under normal circumstances. So like the darker woods, the blacks, the blues, which is quite funny because in my own house, like in my house in real life, this navy blue is a staple in our entire home, and it's a color that I don't really use in my Sims houses, and it's really strange. I don't know why that is. It's maybe because I see it so much in real life being in my own house. that when I'm building my Sims houses, I want to build something polar opposite to my own house. And maybe that's the reason. I don't know. There's possibly some psychology behind it. But with this build, I wanted it to be really sophisticated, but also like the kids have just completely taken over. The kids have completely taken over the house. When you have kids, especially young children, their stuff's going to be everywhere. It's inevitable. There's going to be toys everywhere. There's going to be toothpaste all over the bathroom. There's going to be dirty clothes outside of the laundry basket. There's going to be stuff all over the dining room table because the kids have come home from school and they want to do arts and crafts before dinner and stuff like that. And I wanted to kind of just tell that story with the clutter and the way that I was placing all of the items. And so, in fact, the everyday clutter kit came in super handy for just spaces where I was like, oh, I could just do with a little bit of clutter there. I think this is probably not one of my most cluttered builds, but it's up there. It is up there when I'm doing these family homes, whether it's single parents or two parents or whatever. I always go to town on the clutter. I just do. It's just something that I adore doing. I love doing it, and it's my jam. It's my jam. What can I say? So now that the kitchen, dining, and living area is done, and I also love the fact that entire space is completely open plan. That is something that I don't ever really do in houses. I only ever really do that in apartments. So it was so refreshing for me to do that in a house, especially a house like this. But I love that for the gameplay. Dad will be cooking tea and the kids might be doing the homework at the table, and the infant might be on the play mat. One of them might be playing video games on the TV or watching a movie. And it just offers that really inclusive sort of family gaming experience within The Sims. And I love open plan spaces. I genuinely love them in real life and in The Sims. I just love it. Also, so this is the downstairs bathroom. Now, there is a shower bath combination in here. This is probably the bathroom that gets used the most. And what I mean by that is the kids might come home from school. This is the bathroom that is primarily used. Dad, on a morning, since he has direct access to this bathroom, uses this to get ready on a morning before the kids go off to school and he goes off to work. So it gets some hammering. And I also love the fact there's like a double door situation, so Dad has to get to the garage by accessing the bathroom. Now, is that realistic? Probably not. It's The Sims. Sometimes my floor plans aren't the most realistic, but sometimes for houses in The Sims, it just works super well. And I think this is one of those instances, genuinely, and I'm not just saying it. I will be the first one to start picking out bits that do not work in my own builds, but I actually really think this works within this setup, within the family dynamic, and for the house itself. So he perhaps helps the kids get ready on a morning, which is why we've got those drawers with the bobbles and like the clips and stuff. So maybe does his daughter's hair before they go to school. They maybe run downstairs and wake him up and make me breakfast, and then I need my hair doing, etc, etc. So I was trying to just, again, tell that story through various items of clutter. So this is Dad's room. This is the converted garage. I did decide to keep the garage doors on the front. I hope that's not too much of an issue for me. It definitely isn't. I think that keeping the kids just upstairs on their own makes all the sense in the world. However, again, for realism, I'd like to make a disclosure here as well. So on the upper floor, the infant, the nursery is up on the upper floor. Now, what you could possibly do is if you wanted Dad to have If you wanted Dad to have a home office, you could definitely turn the infant's room into an office and then maybe add a crib, bassinet, whatever, in his room, so that at least the youngest child is with him through the night. But again, because it's The Sims, I was like, look, it's just better for me if I was playing with this family. Dad has his own space downstairs and all the kids are upstairs. There's a main bathroom that they all have access to, and then the girls, their room, they actually have an ensuite, which is super cool. And I can't wait for you to see that, actually, because the ensuite is just it's so on brand for the girls that live here. I love it so much. But yeah, Dad's room is, you know, he's maybe newly renovated this garage space. That's why there's boxes of clothes and a bit of clutter around. And he's just like, look, I'm just going to let the kids have their own space upstairs. Sometimes it's going to be nice for me, for my own sanity, to have my own sacred space. I can just switch off. I can unwind in my own private space without getting hassled or bothered. Because when it comes down to it, I think everybody needs that. It's not just parents. I mean, parents specifically, but everybody needs that one room in their home where they can just relax and unwind and just take a minute for themselves, you know? So that's the sort of space that I wanted to create for this super hardworking dad who puts his kids at the heart of everything that he does. That was really important for me to give him that. But anyway, then we move on to the upper floor. This is the main bathroom for the upper floor that all the kids have access to. And this is probably primarily where the little boy who lives here, he probably uses this the most. I can't really imagine that the twin girls really use this very often, and if they do, that's kind of mean, really. They've got their own ensuite, for goodness sake. So this is the room they're actually working on now, is the girls' ensuite. So this is when I decided, do you know what, I'm going to put some twin girls in here, because the bathroom is so long and so skinny. It was the only way with the window placement that I could even potentially work something out here. So I wanted to try and make the best use of the space as I possibly could. I'm not sure if that sentence makes sense, but I've said it anyway. So there's so much going on in here. There's like lotions and potions. I used quite a bit of stuff from the bathroom clutter kit as well, just to get across that this is a kid's bathroom. There's pink everywhere. There's clothes on the floor next to the laundry basket. There's a pink towel. They've got other towels from the growing together. Yeah, from why did that just escape me for a second? From the growing together pack, there's a laundry basket here, and I just love how that turned out. It was such a nice, again, just a story to tell. And then we move on to their bedroom. I use these bunk beds from the Horse Ranch pack, and I love these beds so much. I genuinely love them, and I just thought they worked so well in this very generously sized bedroom, actually. I think the little brother has a slightly smaller bedroom. I think his is like one square, sort of narrower. But yeah, that's a really nice room too. So yeah, let's talk about the kids here, because if you've been around the channel for a while, you'll know that I love decorating and cluttering up kids' rooms. It's like my favorite thing to do in a house or an apartment. This is where I shine, okay? This is my jam. So yes, these girls are probably halfway through the child life stage in The Sims, and I don't think they're particularly like super young, but I wanted them to have a youthful room that was full of activities that are suitable for children. I wanted it to have like this youthful appearance, but they're not as youthful as their little brothers. You know, and when we move on to his bedroom, I think we'll talk a little bit more about why this is different to that room. But it is very youthful in here. It's very bright. It's colourful. We have pops of pink. We have pops of purple and yellow and all sorts going on, like turquoise here and there. This dollhouse is from the Horse Ranch pack, by the way, and I don't think I've ever used this in a build, but it's so cute, and I'm like, why have I never used this before? And in truth, I was just thrilled that I was able to use it in this bedroom. Again, it's just not an item that I've ever really used before, so I was super happy. We have a little armchair in the corner. Again, that's from Horse Ranch as well, I think. Yes, it is. We have a little toy box here as well. Then we put some wall decals on the wall, which I always find really funny doing with wallpaper that has a strip in the middle. I don't know what it is, but my brain doesn't like putting things over the strip if I can help it. Obviously, as you can see here, I have done it in certain spaces, which I'm just saying that I'm like complaining about it and I hate doing it, but I have done that in this bedroom. And then we just add some more clutter pieces. Again, I actually filtered by, I think it was pink, purple and yellow, just that I had access to all of the items that would fit in with the colour scheme. And usually I'll only ever really do that for kids' bedrooms to make sure that everything matches really well. But that's that room pretty much done. I think off camera I add some very, very, very slight clutter pieces to that bedroom, but it's really nothing of any significance. And then we move on to the nursery. So the hallways are very plainly decorated, but the nursery is so small. Like literally all I had room for, yes, was the crib and then a rocking chair, a light, and then like a basket of toys. That is all I had room for in this bedroom. I feel like this baby was a little bit of a surprise, I'm going to be completely honest, and I feel like it probably hasn't been too long since mum hasn't been part of this family, because dad's just like kind of, maybe this was the home office, maybe this is where it was, and he panicked and he was like, I'm going to have to convert the garage into my room and I'm going to have to put, you know, the baby in here. It's the only way that I can do this. I think potentially if you're looking to make the house a little bit bigger, you could possibly pull this part out. Probably even just one more square would work. And looking back now, that is something that I wish I'd have done, because it'd give me more space in the kitchen as well. But you live and learn, I suppose. But this room comes together incredibly quickly because it is so small, and there wasn't really too much that I could do with it. But yeah, that's that one done. And then we move on to the boys' room. I have a soft spot for this bedroom because I feel like it's been a little while since I've played around with this particular colour scheme. So I ended up going with like a red, blue, and I think with pops of like green and yellow in here a little bit as well. I really wanted to use this bed from Horse Ranch, but it wasn't working for me in this particular space. I think because I'd landed on this wallpaper, I was like, I'm using this wallpaper. So that kind of narrowed down my options just a little bit. But yeah, I used this bed from Parenthood, I believe, and the cute little moon and stars rug is from Base Game. These curtains, I think they're from Cats and Dogs in this swatch. I've used this swatch many times before. It's probably one of my favorite swatches that came with that pack for those curtains. There's a little armchair here from Base Game, and then we just continue this room with this sort of theme of not only the color scheme, so the red, blue and yellow, but also I figured this little boy was maybe into space and gaming, and maybe he dabbles in football and sports too. I think he has probably a lot of activities that he likes to get involved in, and I just wanted that to come across in this room. But like I say, I think that this is a young child, and this is what I mean. I feel like this bedroom definitely has a more youthful appearance than the girls' room. I think the girls are definitely older than their brother, and they probably pick on him a little bit, and I'm telling you now, just you wait till he gets older and he'll be fighting his own corner. He'll be fighting his own battles. So thank goodness there's two of them, because I think he's going to get to a point where he's like, you got to stop picking on me because I'm going to come in swinging. But yeah, then I just end up adding some clutter from the Parenthood pack because... do you know what? I love that pack so much, genuinely, for the build and buy, and also the gameplay too. It's just a really good pack. It's a solid pack. But yeah, then I end up putting some blue like fairy lights just above the TV area here. It's just, this room is so cute. I love this room. It's, for me, this is the perfectly sized, perfectly proportioned children's bedroom. You could have a lofted bed in here, you could put two beds in here, you could have a bunk bed in here, and you could still manage to fit all of the activities that you want to put in here. The only thing that I think I'm missing in here really is a desk with a computer on it, or even just a desk that he can do his homework at. But I think that the kids love to do their homework with dad on the dining table. That's just what I think they love to do. And then in the quote-unquote back garden is super small. But yeah, I just end up adding some very simple pieces here, but that is pretty much it for the video. So I really hope you enjoyed this. If you'd like to download this house from the gallery, it's available right now. My origin ID is RachelPedd. Tray files, as always, are linked down in the description box just down below. You can get them for free from Sim File Share. But thank you so much everyone for joining me here today. You all take care, and I will see you again next time. Bye.